Stop, please. Okay, this is just for you. The Irish jig, it's the best I can do. Okay. Welcome back. Okay. So this morning we had some great sessions and some very interesting questions came up throughout it. So consequently, what I was going to talk about got thrown in the bin, and I'm going to talk about some other stuff instead, very specific to some of the questions that were raised this morning. Let me get myself prepared. Okay. Crank it up. All right, so what's this all about? So why am I doing that? Let's come on to that in just a moment. So what I'm going to talk about this afternoon is about the stuff that they don't teach you at school. They don't teach us in high school, they don't teach us in university, and they don't teach it in business schools either. Well, that's not strictly speaking true, because actually I do teach this at MBA and BSc level at INSEEC in London. And in addition, I'm also a mentor at the Side Business School here in the Entrepreneurship Centre. I've been delighted to join that this year, where we basically take start-up ideas and crush them down into a little pitch deck which they can basically take to their stakeholders and become viable. So what I specialise in, as Dr. Majat's kind introduction may have alluded to, is this idea of how do you take a startup operation and give it some traction. Variously I've been described as traction man, rainmaker, or lucky bastard. I'm not too sure which one is the best one to reference me to, but certainly, you know, what I do believe is that you make your own luck, right? Luck is basically knowledge plus opportunity. So, on here you can see obviously my LinkedIn profile. I would welcome you to basically connect with me. I'm very, this is my social network. I'm not a Twitterati, and I don't think FaceTube will ever take off. But LinkedIn, certainly I've been a member since 2004, and it's been a fantastic way of networking with people and sharing ideas. So welcome you to come and join me there. And while you're there, do click on my skill of mentoring and lecturing. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Right, personal plugs over. So in the last couple of weeks, things have kind of gone a little bit ballistic. I've only recently joined this circuit of people who go on to speak at events like this. Most recently, I was on a panel at the Venture Fest, which was a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about a startup to scale up. Today, we're talking about racehorses and unicorns. So, how do we take a racehorse or a foal and turn that into a unicorn? What is it that you need as an entrepreneur in order to basically succeed in this very difficult market that people keep talking about? Well, first of all, let's talk a bit about you as entrepreneurs. So, what you've done is you basically stepped out of your comfort zone. Just by the fact that you basically decided that you're going to basically get out of the corporate world and get yourself into an environment where basically if you succeed or fail, it was you that did it, you've taken a massive step. You've jumped outside of your comfort zone. Now, I did ask earlier, how many of you are entrepreneurs? Just a quick one. Okay, how many of you are happy about jumping outside of your comfort zone? Bullshit. Right. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay. Here we go. Now you're all worried, aren't you? I'm not going to get you to do. Okay, turn to the person to your left or to your right and just say hello. And Right, so skill number one. Skill number one, say hello. Now, let me ask you a question. Grab a seat. So when you said hello, there was a lot of noise and activity in the room. Did you get eye contact? Yeah? Did you maintain eye contact? Yeah? Okay, this is what we do, right? In social interaction, we need to basically engage with the other people. What you'll notice is as I'm speaking, I'm not just looking at any one person, I'm actually scanning the room on a regular basis. And this is part of the techniques that you kind of build up as you become a public speaker, is the ability to basically engage an audience, hold their interest. So, what am I talking about? What you saw me do a little bit earlier was something a little bit stupid, yeah, the sort of crazy jig. Why was I doing that?
Break the ice.
Break the ice? Absolutely, absolutely. But here's the interesting thing. It's what we call non-verbal communication. Why is this important? This, I think, is probably the number one thing which, as I've spoken with entrepreneurs, as I've basically taken startups forward, getting people to come outside of their shell, get outside of their comfort zone. The reason I do the Irish jig and I get you to basically jump up and say hello, generally I'd actually get people actually jumping in the crowd, but I just sense that we have a slightly more conservative audience here than normal, so therefore I didn't invite you to join me in the Irish jig. I'll let you off. Non-verbal communication is a very important part of basically getting your message across. It's not just about the tonality of your voice. It's not just about the words you say, rather. It's about the tonality of your voice. It's about whether or not you use inflection or pauses. There are different ways in which you can basically create engagement with your audience. And most important is actually body language. You know, what sort of energy you're projecting. This morning, you saw what I did. I basically utilized one of my skills, which is to basically project some energy to you. And I'm sure some of you felt it, yeah? Yeah? Jeez. Tough crowd. Right, so why do we talk about this in entrepreneurial circles? Well, the reason is because if you want to get your message across, you have to be congruent in what you're saying. And congruence only comes when you align your body and your mind and you focus on the individual. The reason I got you all to basically have a little talk to each other was just to show you that presence is really important. The only way you get an interaction is when you connect and get eye contact, and when you get a connection in terms of a transference of energy. Yeah? Sales, I teach entrepreneurial sales techniques. If I'm going to distill down what sales really is, I'll give you exactly what the words I use are. It's a transfer of emotion. Yeah? Basically, my energy, my passion, getting into you and getting you engaged. So, what does that mean? So let's take a look at a little slide that basically talks about what you need to do when you first go to meet somebody. And, you know, we've got to be more like dogs, right? Stop being like a human, be more like a dog. Because what's a dog interested in? Don't answer that. A dog is basically interested in having a walk and having a sleep, right? It's eat, sleep, have a walk. Whereas we walk around with all our baggage on our shoulder. Did I turn the gas off? Christ, did I lock the door? Oh no, what if these people don't like me? You know, the self-doubts that introduce into our minds when we walk into a meeting, those self-doubts are the things that basically destroy us, right? Your biggest barrier to success is whether you can step outside of your comfort zone and basically project your personality and your personage to the persons that you are talking to. So, I think one of the things here is that you do have to have something in your mind, right? But one little tip for you, a presentation that tries to do everything rarely does anything. So I'm just going to focus today upon this idea of non-verbal communication. So, public speaking. Who knows what the number one fear in the world is? Give you a clue, right? Apparently, some people, in some cultures, it's more feared than death. I suppose if you died, you wouldn't really care about it. But anyway, so why is it that we have this fear of public speaking? What is it that's going on? And I think this graphic actually does a good job of basically explaining some of the reasons why people get fearful of it. It's because we have this sense that other people are looking at us and that they're judging us. Right? It's that fear of being judged. What will they think of me? What will they think of me? Well, here's the thing. You don't need to impress everybody in the room. You just need to impress one person. That's your objective of any presentation or pitch. Don't worry about what people think. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about their opinions. Their opinions are their opinions, and they're none of your business. So what we're interested in is basically hitting the one person. So speak to the group as if you just were looking for that one person, I think is quite an important thing. So, as an entrepreneur, unfortunately, you do have to actually step forward onto the stage at some stage and do a pitch. I'll be having a go this afternoon, and like the rest of the entrepreneurs that are doing that, I will get stage frights, because if I didn't, I would be a robot as opposed to a human. So, why do we do it? What do we need to do to become an entrepreneur? Why do we do this? What is it that makes an entrepreneur successful and others not? Yep. Well, let me actually ask another question of you. Hands up who knows who the fastest runner in the world is. Fastest runner in the world. Who is it? Who? Who's the third fastest runner in the world? Was that a guess? Who's the second fastest? Who cares? Who cares? Second is not good enough. But what's the difference between them? What's the difference between the fastest man in the world and the second fastest man in the world? 2 seconds. Or 200 milliseconds, right? How big is it? It's that. It's 2 millimeters. It's nothing. So you don't have to be better than everybody else. You just have to be slightly better in order to win the race. Yeah? So how do we get that slight increase in energy, or in terms of getting passion across? We'll talk a little bit about this. But first of all, let me give you one little tip. So here's the tip. Watch this very closely. Watch this to this. Difference? Which one looks more confident, this or this? Yeah? 2 millimeters. Literally what I'm doing is I put a little wire on my head, pull it up, bam. A little smile to add to it. All of a sudden I look extremely confident, even though my legs are shaking. That's really what this is all about. Non-verbal communication. So, as an entrepreneur, eventually you'll actually get up and do a pitch. Let's give you some tips in terms of, there's a top 10 tips, which are quite a good slideshow. It talks about what the top 10 tips are for doing a pitch deck. I'm going to run through them, and I'm just going to stop at number 5. So, the number 1 top tip, as you can read, present what's in it for the world, not just for yourself. So we need to have ideas which are greater than ourselves. We need to contribute back, right? This isn't about I want money. What is it? What's in it for the investor? Why are they going to invest in you? What are you going to give to them? What's the output that they're going to get? What are they looking for? And we also had some discussions today with people who are looking for funding, as I am. And it's a common thread that you meet people who basically express an interest, but then it doesn't quite work out because their interests are different. And you've got to recognize that that's just the case. But keep going, because all you're looking for is one person out of that group that you're meeting. Number 2, respect people's time. Now, Najat is being very brutal to me. She's only given me half an hour now. So I'm going to crack through these very quickly. That includes a Q&A. So I'm going to talk even faster than I did before. But respect your audience's time. Why? Because if someone tells you they've only got 20 minutes, and you're still rambling at the end of it, they've gone already. They've left the room. So respect your audience's time. Typically what I do if I'm going into a pitch, if someone says, I've got 20 minutes, I'll try and do it within 15, because that just gives you that buffer if things overrun. Third thing is, don't give a presentation that you wouldn't sit through yourself. That's an acid test. So how many times have we watched a PowerPoint presentation where never deliver a presentation you wouldn't want to sit through yourself when giving a presentation? Doesn't work, does it? Doesn't engage. Doesn't engage with the audience. It's boring. It's dry. So you've got to basically give a presentation that actually adds some value to your audience. Understand your audience first and foremost. What I did this morning as I was listening to you was basically sort of compile the slides from the group of slides I had in order to basically answer some questions that were coming up. So number 4 is people always remember the presentation more than they will the presentation. You'll remember me, won't you? Yeah? You won't. But so why is that? It comes back to that thing I was talking about earlier, the non-verbal communication, right? It comes down to the fact that whatever words I tell you, whatever I say to you, doesn't actually really matter. It's what I'm transferring to you. It's the energy that's coming off this stage. That's what you're going to remember. So number 5, passion. My God, do we hear about this a lot when we're going out and pitching? Oh, you need to be a bit more passionate about your idea. And, hands up who's had that. Talk about passion. You need to have passion in your ideas. Yep. So how do we get passion? How do we put that into it? How do I create this energy that's basically happening on the stage where I can basically become the lion tamer? So I'm delighted to say that actually I learned how to do this through a lady called Amy Cuddy, who's one of TED's top speakers, top 5 speakers. And really what she was kind of teaching was this idea of transfer of emotion. How do you basically get yourself out there? It's using body language to basically increase your ability to raise your emotional level to the point where you are able to project it. Why do we do that? So here's a question. So it was Patricia, wasn't it? Patricia asked a question earlier about the inner, what was it you described yourself as? Internal pessimism. Okay, so this next slide may explain why you have internal pessimism. Would you like to know what this slide looks like? Okay, so what does this mean? This is called the triad. I think that this is probably one of the most powerful learnings from the subcategory of woo-woo land called NLP. So anybody know about neurolinguistic programming? This is powerful stuff, actually, very powerful stuff. So what does this actually mean? That the triad is all about this. All human emotion comes from three things. It's what you're focusing on. It's that idea that basically your mind is full of stuff and you haven't focused on your outcome. It's on your body language, your posture, how you stand. It's that 2 millimeters extra. But the third thing is, it's your language. And I don't mean whether it's French or German or Arabic. I don't mean what you're saying. I mean what's going on inside your head, right? It's that internal lingo where you basically say, who's ever had this situation where you go into a meeting and you come out and you go, oh, God, I wish I'd just done this. Oh, man, that was terrible. Oh, what a cock-up. Who's ever had that? Yeah? Oh, my God, right, okay. There are humans in this room. We've all had it. What does that language do for you? Depresses you. It doesn't serve you at all, does it? It doesn't serve you at all. So I'm going to skip through a couple here. This is what it produces. So just before you go onto stage, just before you go into a social environment, are there any chemists in the room? Any chemists? Okay, damn, I was hoping someone would decode this for me. That's adrenaline. Adrenaline? Yeah. Yep. And that is? Very close, very close. Adrenaline, perfect, thank you. That is adrenaline. Well, actually, it's testosterone. This one down here is testosterone. This one's called cortisol. Do you know the difference between the two? So this is called the stress hormone, cortisol. And it's the thing that triggers your fight or flight mechanism. And it's triggered not just when somebody comes up aggressively to you, but in socially awkward positions. Yeah, this idea of social quicksand, where you go into a job interview and you get zero feedback from the person that's talking to you. They're just stony-faced. You fall apart. Or you get up onto the stage and the audience doesn't stand up and jump around with you. It's a disaster. So thank you very much for being part of this. And what happens is your cortisol spikes, as you basically collapse yourself down into what we call a pit of despair. Yep. Meanwhile, your testosterone shrinks as well. It reduces. Now, ladies, you do have it as well, believe it or not. It is true. Ladies do have cortisol as well. And cortisol is known as a dominance hormone. So what that does is it basically, part of the reason why, to answer some of the questions today, part of the reason why men seem to have this better ability to kind of get out there and shout about themselves is because they have elevated testosterone. And when you have elevated testosterone, if you're an alpha male type character, you actually have very low cortisol. So therefore, you don't feel the fight or flight mechanism. And it's a converse thing. It is a congenital thing that ladies have increasing cortisol in socially difficult situations. So this lady, Amy Cuddy, I'm going to invite you to basically have a look at this TED Talk. Look, Amy, C-U-D-D-Y. It's about it's an 18-minute long TED Talk, but I really urge you to take a look at it because what she talks about is this idea of basically getting yourself to reduce your cortisol level and increase your testosterone. And here's an interesting fact. When Usain Bolt runs across the line, what's the first thing he's doing as he's hitting the line? It's this, isn't it? Yep. When Muhammad Ali knocks out his opponent, bam, up go the... And here's the interesting thing. Studies have revealed that even people who are born congenitively blind, who've never seen this, if they win a trophy or win a race, bam, their arms go up. They've never seen this, and yet this is part of the human condition. Why is that? Why is that? Well, What this talk is all about is about how to bring up, how to get yourself into a more dominant state, so that when you enter into these interactions, when you step onto the stage, you don't have the fight or flight instinct, rather you're pumped up and ready to go. Yeah? The way to do it, well, believe it or not, is this. And you may have seen me over there, like this, just before, doing the Wonder Woman. Because it's a hell of a lot less embarrassing than this. But you think about this, right? So when you go into an interview or you're just about to step up onto the stage, what is it that you're doing with your body? Where is your body? Is it like this? Oh, God, I hope I don't screw this up. I really hope these guys like me. Or is it like this? I'm going to give these people some value. It's a huge difference, right? And what it's doing is your body, just sheerly this, just standing like this for a couple of minutes and just clearing your mind and focusing on a good outcome is enough to basically spike your cortisol by about 20% and reduce your, spike your testosterone by about 20%, beg your pardon, and reduce your cortisol by 18%.
That could seem very arrogant as well.
Sorry?
It could seem very arrogant if you're walking like that.
I agree totally. So, walking around like this or walking around like this and sort of strutting around. But here's the thing. If I'm standing over there or I'm looking out of a window if I'm going into a meeting, typically what I'll do is I'll stand in reception, I'll just take a look at the walls, I'll take a look at the pictures. This is okay, socially acceptable to do that. Or if you're going to go into something and you want to get a little bit more energy, go into the bathroom. Get yourself in state, right? Bang, get yourself in state. NLP teaches us that state is the thing that basically drives us through a socially difficult position. So when somebody heckles us, we're able to basically respond without the fight or flight mechanism. Yep. Make sense? Make sense? Okay. So you guys have all been doing this. So being present. Did you want to have a little exercise again? Should we play a game? Okay, everybody stand up again. Okay, get into pairs. Get into pairs. Okay. Get into pairs. Now I want you to basically turn and face each other. And I want you to decide who's going to be person A and who's going to be person B. So person A, put your hands up. Okay. A. Person B, you're going to go first. So what's the exercise? So the exercise is this. It's one of basically presence. So what we're going to look to do is basically I want you to basically clear your mind of everything, look at partner A, and I want you just to basically focus on that person. Yep. 100%, lean in a little bit towards them as well. Smile on your face and maintain that for about 20, 25 seconds. Now, person A, your job is this, really quite simple. If person B, at any time you feel that they're not 100% focused on you, give them a slap on the shoulder. Oh! Slaps. Okay. Well done. Grab a seat. Normally if we had time, we'd reverse it, and person A, you would get your revenge, but maybe later. So what is presence? Ladies in the room, you know exactly what presence is, right? When your guy isn't basically 100% focused on you, you know instantly, right? Yeah, I can see you all nodding. Guys, if you learn this trick, they'll love you forever. So presence is just this idea that basically you can basically maintain complete focus on somebody and connect. It's a deep spiritual connection. And this is a non-verbal communication element that is absolutely critical, both in your personal life, but also in your business life. Okay, so what have I talked about? Well, I've talked about some of the stuff that you don't learn at business school, haven't I? So this is not the stuff, actually, that you've been traditionally trained about. This masterclass, you're probably expecting to be about how to be a fantastic entrepreneur. What I've told you a bit about is a little bit about human behavior and the ways in which we can manipulate ourselves. And by that, what I mean is this, that this idea of standing like this for 2 minutes and just clearing your mind and focusing on your outcome hits everything in terms of the triad. Yep. The triad, what you focus on, yep, your physiology, your state, your physiology, winning physiology versus collapsed physiology, yep, and the language that you're using to talk to yourself. Be kind to yourself. That pretty much wraps up what I was going to talk to you about in terms of that side of things. Do you want to open this up to questions? Yep. Happy to. So, one question. Patricia, you asked a question, didn't you?
Yeah, I asked about earlier about other people's. My question earlier was about how to tackle other people's perceptions of you if they're making assumptions, like you don't know what you're talking about or you're inexperienced or something like that, and how to not show your frustration or your negative reaction to them.
Yeah, I think you had an example for me, didn't you?
Yeah, so my business operates in Iraq, so often when I go to talk to people, the first question is not what's your business plan, it's you're a woman in Iraq, are you sure you should be doing that? Is it safe?
Right. So what we have there is something that happens when any two parties meet, when any two people meet. There's a thing called frames that come together. People have a different frame of mind. One person's frame of mind is, and what they're thinking about is over here, yours is over here. And you basically come together and then bang, you crash into each other. Yeah? Now, here's the interesting thing about it. The person with more certainty wins in those environments. And where things are going to be going wrong is if you are basically then rolling your eyes and basically they've got you, right? They've won they've leant across you and they basically said, there we go, my frame is now on you. You're inside of my domain. Get out of that without moving, right? So how do we overcome that? Well, there is a technique. It's called deframing. And what deframing is when you get asked that question, you say, I agree that you think that Iraq is unsafe for women, but isn't the real question, what can we do to overcome those problems? Right? You basically take the frame in a different direction. So look at politicians and the way that they handle questions. Typically, if you ask a politician a difficult question, they won't answer you. What they'll do is they'll bring up another question in order to basically deframe the conversation, take it in a different direction, so they then have control of the engagement. Make sense? So have a little practice of that. I mean, deframing is a really clever way of doing it, and typically with the way that you learn deframing is if you get involved in a debate society, for example. When somebody basically comes out with an unhelpful comment, and you're able to basically say, I agree that you feel that way, or you think that way. First of all, agree with them, and what that's about is this. Everybody try this. Put your hands up in the air. Put your one hand as a fist. Okay? Put the fist, and push as hard as you can, and resist with the hand. Push harder, harder. Come on, one of you is going to win. Come on, push harder, push harder, push harder. Okay. Doesn't work, does it? When two people meet like this, you can't win. But what if I do this? Yeah? So by agreeing, what I'm doing is I'm basically taking their negativity and I'm dancing with it. I'm pulling them along and saying, I agree with you. Totally agree with you. I totally agree that you think that Iraq is a dangerous place for women. But isn't the real question, bam, and then you take them on a different path, right? That's what I'm talking about. And you dance with their ideas, you agree with them, because what that does is it takes away all of their bluster. Yep. It collapses the balloon.
Yes, and I also find that you often get a question, often from men. It has been my experience, but they'll ask you about the opportunity cost of being an entrepreneur, or how much money are you making, and that's how they define success. And I think, just like you said, with deframing that, it's like define your own success, tell them your definition of success, right? It might not all be about the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Ask the question to basically guide them in the direction you want to take them. Ideally, you put an emotional hook into it as well. If you can get an emotional hook into whatever you're saying, it's far, far easier to get people to go along. Yeah.
You mentioned about deframing. Right?
Yeah.
Now, typically when you watch a debate on television between two politicians, this happens more so. But don't you think that an integrity and moral courage to actually say, really, I don't know the answer of this, rather than deframing, is actually becoming more a people like it more because it's honest.
Absolutely.
Now, we all understand how it's kind of manipulated and deframed. Rather than that, do you think that we'd rather take a course of being morally upright and say, listen, to tell you the truth, I really don't know the answer of this, and I would love to come back to you. I would like actually be investing in a business that would actually say that, rather than actually try to actually reframe my conversation somewhere else.
So I agree with you. And I don't know the answer to this. I don't know the answer to this, but I'll come back to you.
Great. See, I like you even more now.
Fantastic. No, so it is a good question. Absolutely. So one of the most important things, actually, as when seeking investment, and part of the difficulty as an entrepreneur is you do have to wear a mask. You have to project confidence. If you're not confident, you have to be confident. Yeah? If you're not sure, you have to be sure. So you do have to wear these masks, and we all wear masks. I mean, some guys wear a feminine mask, some women wear a masculine mask. In the context of basically getting what it is that they want to get done, you have to occasionally put on these clothes. But one thing you can't do is be disingenuous and dishonest. I did mention something earlier about congruence, and I think that this is an important point, that when your mind, and what you're talking to yourself about are aligned, you have congruence. You're in the moment, you're present, okay, and your energy is expressing. The moment you become disingenuous to yourself, which is really where you're coming from, right? When your point isn't the real question being disingenuous, when you're in that state, it collapses everything else. Instantaneously, people can sense fear, they can sense disingenuous feelings. So absolutely spot on. Be yourself, absolutely be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. But if you want to basically step outside of your comfort zone of being what you are today into something different, then get out your comfort zone. Try this new stuff, right? Just try this 2 minutes a day just before you go into a meeting. Try that. Clear your mind, get yourself in state, and get framed up. Okay, I think this is the last question, so it better be a good one. Is that working?
So in line of what we've seen with Trump, what's the best handshake you would suggest?
The best handshake I would suggest for Trump. Well,
not for Trump. I was actually.
I don't know if I could shake his hand, frankly.
That was actually just a joke. But sometimes actually it happens that you meet an investor and then they give you a very firm hand, and how do you respond to that? Well, my question actually was more. I haven't heard anything yet about just being friendly and being a human being. These people are investors, but sometimes we put them in a certain situation that they're not human beings anymore. They're actually just people with emotions. So just treating them as decent people is actually sometimes more valuable than a bit of a charade outside of that. That's just my point of view.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree you think that's right. No, I do agree with you. They are human beings. And what we're looking to do is to be ourselves, to be genuine. So the key takeaway here isn't become a robot, be something you're not. That's not the objective. The objective is get yourself into state, okay? Just visualize your outcome and go in confident, right? Be confident. Reduce your cortisol levels, increase your testosterone, give yourself the best possible chance of a good outcome. Just try it, 2 minutes a day. And this is now, I do urge you to go and have a look at the Amy Cuddy talk and really get to grips with what she's trying to say and her story. Because I think, from what I've seen, this is probably one of the most powerful learnings for us as human beings, actually, is how to control our state, really to be present and in the moment, and to be congruent, and to be human. So, thank you.